Welcome to rSlash Am I the Butthole, where OP's boyfriend knocks up her sister. Am I the butthole for announcing my sister's pregnancy after finding out that my boyfriend is the father? I'm a 19-year-old girl, and I was with my ex-boyfriend, who's 19, until a couple of months ago when I found out that he got my 18-year-old sister pregnant. I heard them talking about it, and my sister was freaking out over it because she knew that I would be done with her if I found out, and my ex didn't care. So I held it all in and waited until we were all with our family and announced the news to everyone there. My boyfriend ran once he realized I was going to break up with him, and my sister freaked out and broke down and started begging me not to hate her and saying that she made a mistake and she would abort the pregnancy and we could go back to the way that we were before. She's been living with me since April because her and our parents were not getting along. We were supposed to move somewhere bigger in a few weeks, and I told her that was not happening anymore. And since that day, I've been staying at my friend's place. Now, she can't afford to live in the apartment without me, and I refuse to live with her again, or have a relationship with her, and my parents won't let her move back in either. My ex is gone, and he's refusing to have anything to do with this mess that he's equally responsible for, so she's on her own. She was trying to make amends so we'd be back to normal, but I didn't even acknowledge her attempts. I'm not sure where she's staying, but one of our aunts told me that I was disgusting to do that to someone as young as her, and I've ruined her life. I told my aunt to pick up the pieces and leave me alone because I don't care anymore. I said that she had it coming when she started sleeping with my ex. My aunt said that letting a guy come between us was nasty business. And she asked me if I could live with myself if she ends up having the baby and they end up on the streets. I told her it has nothing to do with me. Am I the butthole? Oh no, the consequences of my actions! I have no sympathy for this lady. Opie, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving your sister and ex 3.5 out of 5 buttholes. And that stupid aunt can deal with the problem herself. If she's so concerned about your dear sister, then she can take them in. Am I the butthole for taking my genitals out after a date? Back in January of this year, I, a 30-year-old guy, matched with and started talking to this girl, who's 26, on a dating app. We moved to text, and she kept sending me nudes and pictures of herself in lingerie. The chemistry is good so far. We end up meeting for a date. She wants to go to a place that's near to her place. I mentioned that there's a brewery nearby. So we meet up at the brewery. She walked from her place, and I drove to meet her there. We have dinner, I pay. She says she likes the guy who pays. As we're walking out, she asks if I can drive her home. It turns out she lives 600 feet from the brewery. I thought that she was joking because it was hard to find parking by her place that wasn't just at the brewery already, but she said she needs a ride because she can't walk the distance again. I feel like this should have been the first red flag, but I pressed on to finding a spot that was closer to her place and wasn't just the brewery parking lot again. She was indeed not joking. We get back to her place and she invites me to her room. She tells me to get comfortable on her bed while she goes to the bathroom to change into lingerie. She comes out and she says she doesn't want to do any penetration or kissing. I tell her I'm comfortable with that, and I'm glad she's just communicating outright. I see this as a green flag at the time. We start dry humping and grinding on each other. She goes back into the bathroom and changes into another set of lingerie, and we're again dry humping. She goes back into the bathroom and changes again. We're dry humping again. I don't know why she keeps going to the bathroom and trying on different lingerie, but I just roll with it. We're dry humping again. I don't know which set of lingerie we're at now, but it's like 3 to 4 set changes in total, and I take out my dong. She sees that I took out my dong and gets really upset, then goes to the bathroom again. I put my clothes back on, knowing she'll probably ask me to leave. She comes back out in more lingerie and wants me to take my pants off again. We get into position to dry hump, and then a moment later she tells me she wants me to leave immediately. She walks me out. Later that night, she starts texting me things like, Are you sure you don't have any STDs? Are you sure you're sure? Can you get tested? When was your last test? And I explained to her that I believe she's having a post-hookup anxiety attack, and that there is literally nothing we've done this evening that could transfer an STD. We didn't even have skin-to-skin contact. No kissing, no fluids. She says something like, "There's literally nothing you could say to make me feel good right now." And she ghosts me. Fast forward like 6 to 7 months to summer, and she and I match again on a different dating app. Right off the bat, she asks if I want to come over and see her her new lingerie and asks if she can show it off. I tell her that I'm the guy that she went on a date with back in winter, and we did that before, but that she got uncomfortable. She then says, "Wait, you're the guy that I went to such and such brewery with and took your penis out?" And I said, "Yes." Then she says, "Well, I consider that to be sexual assault, and you should never contact me again." So, 2 questions here because I'm genuinely confused, and when telling this story to friends, I've gotten mixed answers. 1, am I the butthole? 2, did I sexually assault her? 3, if so, what can I do to avoid accidentally sexually assaulting someone in the future? Also, in case it's relevant, she is apparently a former Mormon. All right, I'll be honest, I think this is out of my wheelhouse because dry humping before kissing and not kissing at all is kind of bonkers to me. You guys are like skipping straight from first base to like second, or I don't know what the bases are nowadays. Am I just too old-fashioned for this? You know, first you hold hand, then you kiss, then you dry hump. So I don't know how to answer this except that this lady is weird and funny. So I think you're better off just not being with her. Am I the butthole for denying my dad's wife and her kids as my family and reminding my dad that he made the choice to stay when I had no say? I'm currently a 20-year-old guy, and I was 5 when my dad married Ellen. Ellen was a widow and she had 5 kids. Her oldest 4 were all older, as in late teens to 20s. Her youngest was 7. My mom bailed on me when I was 3, so I didn't have an active mom, and I was an only child. Ellen didn't fill any motherly role for me, and her kids were clear that I was less than a stranger. Ellen's youngest never wanted to hang out or play with me. For a little while, when we first started living together, I thought that we would. But the youngest son always left me alone or told me to go away when I tried to spend time with him. He ignored me the rest of the time and would sometimes refuse to say anything when I talked to him. Ellen's older kids would all come and visit their brother and ignore me. They'd bring him toys, candy, take him to see movies, or bring him for treats like McDonald's. Not only was I not welcome, but a few times they were asked to take me, and I'd hear it from them when they told me that I wasn't their brother, and that meant that I couldn't come, and I'd better not get upset about it because they didn't want to get asked again. Christmas and other holidays where they visited their brother, it was always like that. I was left out, and they were angry that I was even there to begin with. My dad would try to cheer me up or spend a little extra on me, but it didn't help because I was living in a house where the kids around my age, who were supposed to be family, wanted nothing to do with me. And his siblings, who were supposedly my family too, wanted nothing to do with me and would be mean about excluding me. They liked rubbing it in. I was miserable and didn't have any extended family to fall back on, so I had to suck it up. I started avoiding celebrations when I could, and I focused on me. When I did that, I heard Ellen's kids say that stuff was better without me ruining everything, and if only Dad was gone, it'd be perfect. I decided to focus on getting out of Dad's house ASAP, and I couch surfed for months after I turned 18 before settling into a place with some friends. I still talk to Dad, but not a lot. He mentioned recently that I should come for a family dinner with him, Ellen, her kids, and some of her extended family. I told him they're not my family, and I wouldn't be welcome, so I won't be going. Dad told me that we might not get along all the time, but we're family. I told him they're not, and he made the choice to stay, knowing they rejected me, and now I wasn't going to pretend that we're something we're not and never were. He told me it wasn't fair because he made sure that I didn't miss out on stuff all the time. I told him that being rejected by everyone else and ostracized in my own home was not made up for with a few material things. Am I the butthole? I like this top reply from False Spend. Not the butthole. I don't understand how a man can stay with a woman and in a family that's deliberately cruel to his child. How could he possibly love her? He's a despicable human being, and so are they. You're better off without the lot of them. I'm so sorry that your childhood was like that. Nothing will make up for it. Yeah, OP, I'm giving you 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving everyone else 3 out of 5 buttholes. Am I the butthole for laughing when my wife fell and pooped her pants because I thought that it was a prank? I'm a 33-year-old guy, and I think my wife, who's 31, is genuinely funny, but her love of pranks and toilet humor can be a bit much. One day, I was in the living room. My wife ran in holding her tummy. She slipped and fell. Then she said something like, "Crap, I pooped my pants." Everything about it seemed like a prank that she would do, from the double meaning phrase, to the toilet humor, to the physical comedy. Despite the fact that I dislike most of her pranks, I found this one funny. But it wasn't a prank, I realized, when I tried to help her up. She told me not to touch her. She sarcastically called me husband of the year for laughing at her. I explained, but she said I should have known that it wasn't a prank because she did a similar one before, and she doesn't repeat the same pranks. Am I the butthole? Yo, wait, so she previously came into the room, tripped, fell, and said, "Oops, I pooped my pants. Oh, it's just a prank." And then she did that a second time and is mad at you because you thought it was a prank again? OP, the stop comments. Bahaha, not the butthole. Your wife is just the girl who cried poop, right? OP, you get 0 out of 5 buttholes. I'm giving your wife one very, very poopy butthole out of 5. Am I the butthole for how I responded to a woman telling me that I'm culturally appropriating? So last week, it was Cultural Dress-Up Day at my college. Basically, it's an event with a mock fashion platform in the main hall where students can come into college dressed in their traditional cultural attire to celebrate diversity and inclusion. It was my second time coming to this event, as it's a yearly event, and both me and my friend were really excited. For this year, we thought that it would be fun to dress up in each other's clothes instead of our own. For what it's worth, I'm Chinese ethnically. My friend Sarah, who's of Indian heritage, brought a beautiful pink and silver sari with gold jewelry, and I gave her a red and gold cheapao to wear with some hair adornments. We got ready at her house before college, then walked to college together. On our way, we stopped at a coffee shop, and my friend went into the bathroom. I waited for our drinks. A group of women came in, and I could tell they were whispering about me, as I could see them blatantly staring. Fair enough, I'm dressed unusually. One of them comes over and asks if I'm Indian. The lady looks Caucasian. I reply that I'm not, and she asks if I think it's okay that I'm culturally appropriating Indian culture. Now, I'm surprised because, to me, cultural appropriation is when someone from outside of a culture dresses themselves up with an intention to mock or make fun of that culture, which I am not. I'm simply appreciating that culture, as my friend is with mine. I ask her if she thinks it's okay for her as a white woman to go up to people of color in public and tell them how they're allowed to dress. She looks shocked, tuts, and rolls her eyes before going back to her friends, who all look a little embarrassed. My friend comes out of the bathroom, I hand her our drinks, and I tell her about our interaction on the walk to college. She thinks it's hilarious. However, another friend said that it was rude the way I responded, and I was unnecessarily hostile when I could have just explained about the event and what me and my friend were doing. Am I the butthole for how I responded? Maybe that other lady should mind her own business. Also, the thing people seem to forget is that someone can be ethnically, let's say Indian in this case, but also culturally Indian. If I, a white guy, was born in India and raised in India and spoke Hindi, then I'd be culturally Indian and I'd have every right to wear Indian clothing and, do Indian things, right? So you can't really tell just by looking at someone what sort of culture or background they come from, even though, I look white, so you might assume British or Canadian or American. That was rSlash Am I the Butthole, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.